All right, I'm here with Tommy Collin. What's up, homie? We just had a great seconds to talk about before we went live.
I'm excited to be here, man. Thank you very much. That's quite a quick intro. Sometimes you do these podcasts and the intros can be like 3 minutes and you're sitting there waiting. Like, that's a cool intro, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. I try to follow, take, criticism, and I try to take what people tell me, what they would like and what they would enjoy. Mm-hmm. And most people said, I learned just through research, the first 10 seconds you have to grab those people's attention. So my intro is actually 11 seconds, so it's 1 second longer. But if you say it is good, I'm happy because you know what I'm saying. That's what it goes with. But I'm glad you're here with me, Tommy Collin. I know I said your name right this time, right?
Perfect, brother. Perfect.
You're right in the UK. You're a great individual, bro. You have a lot of great aura. I was just telling you that before we even started. You know what I'm saying? This is your actual YouTube channel. What attracted me to you was you had posted something, and I can't remember exactly what it was, of course, but you had posted something that said, hey, I need to look further into this individual. And I found your podcast and I've been watching your videos, and I told you that I have 2 accounts on YouTube. I keep forgetting that I need to subscribe on both channels, subscribed on there on one of your channels. But then I seen that you did a podcast with Alexander. Now that man has been everywhere. You know what I'm saying? He's from Poland.
Yeah.
Great individual, honest, very, it seems like he has a lot of integrity. And
very intelligent
himself. Yeah,
very intelligent young man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And, so I started going through your videos, of course. I went through this one right here that I just clicked, that I'm showing. And then what really attracted me and what brought me more into your stuff is that I'm seeing all these right here, because you talk about graves, because I go to grave sites too, and I do videos of grave sites, which is interesting. I wrote about them, did podcast episodes on them, home videos on them. You talked about Richard E. Byrd, who went to Antarctica. I actually read his books. You know what I'm saying? That talks about his experience there. So that was interesting. Then you did podcast discussions with about Bigfoot, cryptids, and you did Sasquatch, poltergeist, and so much stuff. I was like, man, this dude is on it. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you,
bro. You're on it, and we already discussed. I'm planning on making my trip to Europe. I was actually born in Germany, so believe it or not, my father was in the military. He's African American. My mom is German. So I was born in Germany. So I've been around, and I actually been to, different places in Europe. I actually been to London and so on, and different places, France and all kinds of places when I was out there. And I planned on, and I told you that I'm updating my passport so I can go back out there, so we're going to link up. But absolutely, it's interesting. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it's interesting that there's people all around this world who is interested in stuff. Like, you do this like it's your passion. Like I already told you, bro, green, you're wearing a green hoodie. You got green in the background. I like green. Matter of fact, the reason why my logo is green is because of my daughter. And it has a lot to do with rebirth, right? Bringing information, healthiness, agriculture, all kinds of things. Green is all kinds of things, right? It's actually a lovely color if you actually just sit down and just listen to, look at it and take the frequency in, you know what I'm saying? Meditation and stuff like that.
Yeah. You're my logo as well.
Yeah. That right there, you have, I already told you, man, I'm struck about your aura, because you have an aura about you that seems like more people need to come in contact with you. More people need to talk to you. You ask questions, and you're sincere with your questions. And you go. I'm telling you, I watched it, bro. If I'm lying, tell me if I'm lying. I'm not trying to make your head bigger than what it is.
Tell my wife this, please. You pick me up to my wife.
Nah, but it seems like you're a cool ass dude, somebody that I can go to a pub with, because that's what y'all would use the word pub,
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, have you one of them beers, maybe a Heineken or something. I don't know what y'all drink over there. You know what I'm saying?
We drink anything and everything.
Go to the soccer game or football games, as y'all call them, and chill.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something, man. Out of all the research that you've done, out of all the podcasts that you've done, and I say podcast because you've been all over, you got 556 videos on YouTube, bro. 556 videos on YouTube. What was the number one thing that struck your interest in doing this? Like, why did you say, yo, I'm just going to build me a YouTube channel?
That's a good question, man. I mean, I've always been fascinated in the topic of high strangeness. I've always, since I was a little kid, I was one of those weird kids that was very scared of the dark. I still am scared of the dark, to be honest. I always found it very fascinating, but I was always very scared of it at the same time. I've had a lot of experiences myself throughout my life, paranormal experiences that for me kind of, there's no doubt in my mind that the supernatural, the paranormal is very real. I've always been a believer, whatever you want to call it. Not a knower, but I've always believed in the paranormal. I've always had experiences. And I kind of I started later on listening to podcasts, and at first I would listen to these paranormal podcasts and I'd think, oh, maybe I shouldn't be listening to this, because I do kind of feel that when you listen to this kind of stuff, it does invite it in. That's how I used to think I shouldn't be listening. But then it's such a fascinating subject that for me, high strangeness, and that's cryptids, that's UFOs, that's conspiracies. I believe it's all kind of linked. Everything is like high strangeness. There's so many different topics when we think of high strangeness, ancient history, which I find fascinating. There's so much. So I wanted to start a podcast for a long time. And then obviously 2020 happened, which was a big year for a lot of people, spiritual awakening, for a lot of people, it changed a lot of things. And for me, it kind of, I was in a job that I wasn't really enjoying in London. And I thought, I'd love to just start a podcast. And when 2020 happened and we got locked away, it kind of took away tomorrow, if that makes sense. And for me, I was like, okay, so we moved to a new area. We moved to Dorset in the UK, which is on the south coast. Started again, basically. I left my job. I got a new job down here. Wife got a new job. And then, after a little while being here, just started the podcast and just went all in. Just thought, I don't know what I'm doing. I still don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest, but just went all in and I love it. Meeting people like yourself. That's what it's all about, man. And having these awesome conversations and learning more constantly. Learning.
Yeah, definitely. It's so funny because you have 556 videos and you say you don't know what you're doing. I still feel like I don't know what the hell I'm doing, bro. Like I still sit up here and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? How do I make this better?
Yeah, it's difficult, man.
It is because you know what? You do this by yourself. Like this is a one-man show, right? Yeah, so it's very hard. It's very hard to do this on a one-man show. You got to do the editing. You got to listen to your own podcast over again. A lot of people don't like to hear their own voices, right? You have to learn how to love to hear your own voice. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot. And
I cringe. I'm like, I can't believe I said that.
You know what I'm saying? But that's part of being human, right? Because we're human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to say things that we don't mean to say. And, a lot of people on social media, if you say something you didn't mean to say, if you didn't explain it the right way or say it in the right words, people will hound you on it, right? But that gives you the opportunity to say, hey, look, I fucked up. Let's fix it, right? And a lot of people don't really do that. A lot of people don't take responsibility for the information that they shared that might have been incorrect. And that's one thing that I like about your show. From your 556 videos, I probably will never get, to 25% of them, but I will support you and watch what I can and see what interests me, right? But you have an aura about you. I said this before we even went live. I said you have an aura about you that seems like it's sincere, like you want to know something. You want to be not just a regular podcaster, because you don't go around and say, hey, cash at me if you enjoy my information, or send me some money if you enjoy my show. You just go and do your stuff. 556 videos is a lot from one person, right? And then the time frame that you've done in it. So that means you're sincere and you're honest with your stuff. I haven't checked out all your other Linktree stuff that you have, but I did go to your YouTube because that's where most of us put our information at. We have different places like Apple, Spotify, and so on and so forth. But it seems like people like YouTube for some reason. When people post something on X or something, it comes from YouTube.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So throughout those 556 videos, and I'm probably sure that you have way more than that because there's probably shit that you haven't even published. I have shit that I haven't even published, right? And probably won't publish because I don't feel like I need to publish it right now. It's not for the time frame. Everything happens with a time frame. Let me ask you something, man. What is your favorite thing to talk about when it comes to this stuff?
Oh, that's a good question. I generally love it all. I've got to be honest, but I mean, and I go through spells as well where I'm like all in on UFOs, and then I'm all in on Bigfoot. For me, is one of my favorite. I've got to be honest. Like, there's a big reason why I started listening to podcasts. In fact, Bigfoot, I started listening to shows like Sasquatch Chronicles and things like that, and absolutely loved hearing real people share real experiences, and there was just something great about that I'd never found before. You obviously you watch these shows on TV and you get snippets of people talking about their experiences, but when you actually sit there and listen to someone share their experience for an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, you get so much information from that person, and so you learn so much, I think, because people tell you details that you're not going to see on the 15-minute TV shows that you watch that show you these things. You learn how the person's thinking, where they were at that time that it's happened, and it really builds for me the story of what they've experienced even more. And that's what I found so interesting with podcasts, and that's what and you have these conversations that you would never have. The guys at work, half the time nobody cares about Bigfoot. In fact, when I tell people about the podcast at work and they're like, what's it about, man? I'm like, we talk about Bigfoot and UFOs. And I get this, really? Like, okay, you okay? And I'm like,
but they'll go watch DC and Marvel any time of the day and don't understand that half the shit comes from them ancient times.
Exactly, exactly. There's real magic out there. There's real monsters out there, and that's what's so fascinating. And I love it, man. I do love it.
Yeah, definitely, bro. Like one thing that interests me was because I grew up in church. I grew up in a religion. I grew up Catholic. My mom's Catholic. She's German, Catholicism. And I wanted to know as a child, the many different gods that were told. You go to a public school here in America, you're with a whole bunch of different people. You got Mormons, you got Jehovah's Witness, you got Christians, you got Catholics, you got Baptist Christians, you got Hindus, you got Muslims, you got all these different people. So when you're in these schools and these classes and you're surrounded with people and you don't have any type of stereotype or racism in you, and you're like, hey, I want to learn about this guy. Who's Buddha? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Or then you hear somebody talking about talk about Jesus, and then they say, well, guess who Jesus might have been? And they say Thoth, and you're like, what the hell? And then you go do these rabbit holes and you try to figure it out. And of course you'll never get the facts, right? Because we can't go into a time machine and go back in the times and see what exactly happened. But what you can do is you can read the ancient text for yourself, and you can read the mythologies and talk to the people that's around that area. You get the information. So I like Bigfoot too. I grew up on Bigfoot. I watched Bigfoot. I watched a famous video about Bigfoot. And, I love UFOs because it's funny that you mentioned about UFOs. When I was a little kid, I was scared of UFOs. I remember there was one Christmas, I watched that movie, Fire from the Sky, I believe, with Travis Walton, if you remember, right?
Yeah, great.
It was Christmas time. Yeah, great film. And I was a little kid, bro. I was a little kid, and I remember it was Christmas because my pops would always make like Christmas trees or Christmas stars on our windows with Christmas lights. Like he would create that on our windows, and you turn it on at night. So one night, you gonna laugh about this shit. So I watched this movie with my parents, right? Fire in the Sky by Travis Walton, and I was like, yo, this motherfucker got kidnapped by aliens, right? I'm like 7, 8, 9 years old. I don't remember how old I am. Probably younger than that. I'm in my room and I'm scared as hell of aliens, right? I'm scared of extraterrestrials. So, I would plug in my Christmas lights in because I like to light. Every kid like night lights, or some kids like night lights to keep them from being scared.
I still do.
That's why I keep my TV on at night. No, but let me keep going.
I do. Yeah, I do, man.
So see, this is why I say you have a great aura that I wanted to get to know about you, bro, because you go with the flow, bro. Like, you really go with the flow. So I plugged in my Christmas lights where they were already plugged in because it was nighttime. And I remember my mom's, you know, when your parents come in the room, you act like you're sleeping, right? It's like you your eyes closed, not trying to move or nothing. So my mom's comes in there and she takes the lights off, turns them off, because, you know, they don't want to pay for the electricity, of course, right? Yo, as soon as my mom left, yo, I was so fucking scared. I went to plug that shit, man. Looked out the window. And I was like, yo, please don't none abduct me. But it's serious. That's the type of things that, you know, rolled through my mind. I'm 42 years old. You know, I'm an 80s baby. I was born in 1983. So, you know, I've seen all kinds of different things, you know, with the science fiction and all this other stuff. But it's just interesting to know that at that time, you know, that was the basis and foundation of where I'm at today, because I like to know about UFOs. I'm sure you heard about the Anunnaki, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man.
So that's like my bread and butter. I like to study, research the Anunnaki. And there was this one time I actually did a podcast episode on Eric von Däniken on Chariots of the God. I like how he wrote this book. I just don't like how he finished out his lifespan with trying to find extraterrestrials. But he had wrote this book, Chariots of the Gods, and that's what, you know, brought a lot of people into bringing into the idea of aliens and stuff like that. And the Sumerians were a big factor in that, because according to science and academia, they are considered the first civilization because of their writing system. Now, whatever you consider a writing system, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? Pictographic script, emojis, even today, if we use emojis right now, as long as both me and you know, I understand those emojis, we can have a conversation without even using words, right? But, you know, I learned that the Anunnaki didn't come from a planet. Through my research, I learned that they came from the depths of the sea. So not only do we know about UFOs, we know about USOs. And now, how do I know and share that they came from the depths of the sea? It's easy. When you look up the word Abzu, ABZU, from the Sumerian text or Mesopotamian text, you will see that it has to do with primordial water. Enki, I'm sure you know who Enki is. He was a fish god or a water god. And that's where we get the mermaids from, Oannes from, you know, the Babylonian time frame, and so on and so forth. So when they started clicking to me that, you know, Zecharia Sitchin, I'm sure you heard about him. I was like, yo, Zecharia Sitchin was on some stuff. I just don't think he had all the information that was available for him at that time. And what I mean by that is when he wrote his book, you know, The Earth Chronicles, the 12th Planet in 1976, there wasn't that much information that was given to us easily, right? We have AI, Grok, and all kinds of stuff that helps us, you know, speed up our knowledge. So I learned that these individuals, the Anunnaki or Anuna or whatever you would like to call them, came from the depths of the sea. Let me ask you something. When it comes to these historical events, how do you determine what is fact over fiction?
It's very difficult, man. It's very difficult because my Siri just come up. Sorry, man.
You good, bro? You good? We here, man.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Siri came up. My Siri just came up then.
Yeah, I had that shit happen to me too.
And it's never when you call it as well. It just comes up. It's so strange.
Pops up about Amazon and Echo and all that other shit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very difficult. I mean, I read books, you know, I watch documentaries, and a lot of, you know, there's a lot of different ideas, as you know, and sometimes they can come head to head. For me, I like to stay open. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know many facts. I can't say I'm an expert in that field. I've got ideas. I like to stay open. I think we're coming to a time where I believe most people believe that our history, our past, is probably not as it is in the history books. It's not, the texts are not quite right. The official narrative, you know, I think there's so much information now that kind of proves there's a lot we just don't know. You take Egypt alone, You know, there's so much, you know, and obviously they found these columns underneath the pyramids right now that they're looking into, which if they can prove that completely, it's going to change the world. You know, that is something that is going to change the world, because it's completely going to change what we think the pyramids were for. So I think I don't know if we're ever going to get the actual answers, like you said, but I just think the more you listen, the more you read, the more you talk to people and have these conversations. That's kind of how you learn, basically, and we're constantly learning.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I love Alexander's work, because he's so young and he's so knowledgeable on what he has. You know, if I was you know, I'm like I said, I'm 42 years old, bro. 20 years ago, if I was deep to this, man, there's no telling what I would know. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Or what information I would have came into or learned and stuff like that. And
well, he was 17 when he wrote his book.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. 17 years old. That's what I'm saying. Alexander, to me, is like something that I wish I could have done at his age. You know what I'm saying? When I was 17, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do with my life. Exactly. I was like, shit, I didn't want to go to college. I didn't know how to separate colors from whites, bro, when I did my laundry. So.
Yeah, that was terrible.
And this man is over here reading books like crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's amazing to see that we have people around the world like this. You know what I'm saying? We have people that's interested in this stuff, and we have all different type of personalities. We're going to have people who are irate. We're going to have people who are angry. We're going to have people who are pissed. We're going to have people who are happy, who are, you know, humble. The point that I like to say is we got to separate our emotions from all this, right? Because we don't know what people are going through, right? I told you before I started, I was wounded in combat. So I have PTSD. I have severe, crazy PTSD. You know what I'm saying? My fuse is very short. You know what I'm saying? You light a firecracker, that for some people, it might last 5 seconds. For me, it's not even a half a second. So, and I know my faults. I know where I lack at. But that's me being human. So as long as I know that and I try every day to be a better person, I don't have to be a better person every single day. I just need to try. And that's what counts, is that actions speak louder than words to me. And what I mean by that is that you say you read books, you do podcast discussions, you go to people who say they did their research, you ask questions, you do your due diligence, you back up. You know, you try to back up what they say by, you know, going to research what they say. And I noticed that because the questions that you ask on your YouTube channel, I've noticed that. I really noticed that. And it's amazing that we have gotten to the point where we take people's personal lives and judge them based off of what they've been through instead of what they know. And I think that's very sad, because we've all been through some crazy shit. I mean, as a man, I say it all the time. I'm up at night thinking about my shit that I think about, you know, what I've done in my past life. Like, why did I do that? You know, how could I be a better person? And then you always have somebody that pushes that button and this, that, and third, and you slip up and this, that. But as long as you try, and that's what I mean about history, is as long as you try to find the information, that's what matters. Don't depend on what somebody else says. And I like to put it in the concept of this: don't put words in my mouth that I didn't say. And that's how I think about the ancient people. Don't put words in their mouth that they didn't say. Stick to what, you know, the cuneiform tablets say, the Egyptian writing hieroglyphs said, or, you know, the hieroglyphs from China, even, because we have hieroglyphs from China. And what's so interesting about your show and your what you do is that you take the time. You're actually on Amazon Music too. I've noticed. I subscribe to you on Amazon Music.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, thank you very much.
I don't know if it's under Rebirth of the Word, because I had Amazon way before I created all this stuff. So it's probably one under those other accounts. Let me ask you something, man. Have you ever seen? Matter of fact, let me ask you: what is your favorite movie that has to do with ghosts or paranormal or poltergeist?
Oh, favorite movie that is a difficult one. I'm sorry, I'm not. Let me think. Favorite movie. Come on, tell me it's not that hard. Favorite movie with ghosts or I'll tell you what. It's probably one of my favorite ghost films. Was Paranormal Activity 1. and it was a special film because
That was a good movie. That was a
actually
good
the
movie.
first date me and my wife went on is to watch that film, and I know that film's very scary, but I was so nervous because I was with my wife for the first date. I wasn't jumping or anything, and everyone, the whole theater's going crazy because it was so scary. And I was so nervous because I was on this date. I was just sitting there like probably the calmest I've ever been in that sense. But that what I found so cool about that, obviously, it's like it was filmed on a camera, so you had that effect of like the realness of it, and it just felt really real, and I quite like that. So some of these horror movies are really great, but you just know that it's not going to happen, you know. It's a bit far-fetched, but though that Paranormal Activity 1 especially, I think is probably my favorite scary movie. I'm going to think of another one later and be like, oh, I should have thought that. Oh, what's the other one with Nicole Kidman where I don't want to give it away, but the ending, there's like a twist at the ending where it's like, can I say it? Should I just say it?
Yeah, say it, bro.
Where so they're investigating the ghosts, and the ghosts on the other side are investigating them, and it's like the two different worlds. What's the name of the film, man? It's really good, but it's gone.
You know, it's so funny you mentioned Nicole Kidman because I actually find her hot as hell, bro. Like at that time, like I was like, man, she was like one of my first crushes when I was a teenager. You know what I'm saying? Because
also Eyes Wide Shut as well. I know it's not ghosts, but it's that film is wild, especially when you get into the conspiracy world like we are, you know, and you watch that movie and you're like, that is.
I think I know what movie you're talking about because she's been in so many movies, bro. It sounds familiar. Like she was in this one movie where it had to do with aliens. And I think she had children in it. And if I'm not mistaken, these aliens would I think it was through saliva or something like that. I can't remember. I'm not sure how it went, but man, it was a crazy movie, man. It was a crazy movie, man.
She's a great actress.
So my favorite movie, like I told you, man, well, it's not my favorite movie. It's one of my movies that got me into ghosts and demons and poltergeists and all kinds of stuff. Have you ever heard the movie The Entity?
I've heard of it. I don't know if I've seen it.
Okay, so let me. I gotta look it up and see what date it was made. I think it was like made in 1982. Yeah, it was made in 1982. It's a supernatural movie. Hey, so I'm gonna play a clip right here, that I have that I like from the movie itself. I have to find it and see which one it is.
Do you know what film I watched when I was 4 that really messed me up? My granddad let me watch it. Child's Play. He thought it was a kid's
Child's Play, Chucky. Bro, when that movie came out, man, my parents bought that Chucky doll and scared the hell out of me, man. Scared the hell out of me, bro.
I had nightmares for weeks after that film. 4 years old.
Bro, I swear to God, bro, they went and bought a Chucky doll, right? And brought it home after I watched that movie. And they called me into the living room and said, "We got you something." And pulled that motherfucker out, bro. I was so scared, man. I was so scared, bro. That's probably why I got sleep problems.
yeah. It's a crazy film.
It's crazy. So I'm gonna play this clip. It's about 1 minute and 16 seconds. It's The Entity. It's like I said, it was 1982, and it's about a woman that was basically in so many ways harassed by a ghost. And my moms and my pops used to watch a lot of scary movies when I was a little kid. And they didn't make us watch this movie, of course, but because, you know, they were into scary movies and stuff like that. And, you know, at that time, you know, you don't have that many TVs in the house. They would watch that. And then when certain scenes came on, you know, they would cover our eyes and stuff like that. So I'm going to play this clip real quick and see if you remember. I highly recommend you, bro, and anybody that's listening, bro, hey, watch this movie, man. It's a crazy ass movie. But
Tell me, is this the first time something like this has ever happened?
Yeah.
I don't know. There was no one there.
So, in other words, it wasn't a real man.
Do you hear that?
Oh, true events, bro.
And he felt like a man?
It's based on a true story.
A big man.
Shit's scary, bro.
But when my son came in, there was nobody there.
Did you hear it?
Hear what?
Thought I was dreaming.
And what do you think happened?
Ooh. Oh,
Bro,
boy.
I'm telling you, watch that movie, bro. Look it up. Look it up.
That
The
looks
Entity,
scary.
1982. You watch that movie. That snippet doesn't even do it justice, bro.
Whoa.
I was born in 1983. This movie came out in 1982. Of course, I watched it after because I was born in 1983. So sometime after that, I was probably like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old when I watched that movie. That movie scared the hell out of me. I'll give you a point example. It's so crazy that every time I jump in my car every now and then and I think about this movie, because I do a lot of podcasts and talk to a lot of the individuals, somehow her brakes line was cut. And that part right there scared the hell out of me. So I'm telling you, bro, whenever I'm driving downhill on a big hill on a car on a road in my truck and something like that, that pops in my mind like trust me, watch that movie, bro. The Entity, 1982. I think you will really enjoy it because you're into this poltergeist stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it scares me.
Bro, it's based on a true story. Matter of fact, if you do your research after this about the entity of the lady that was involved, there's a lot of stuff on her about it, like true events. Matter of fact, it got to the point where they took her out of her house, okay, and placed her into a controlled environment, in a glass controlled environment, and they witnessed this stuff for themselves.
Man.
So
what part of the
there's
US
actually
did this take place,
San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Let me see. I'll bring it up. Wikipedia, because it's on Wikipedia. The information on there. Let me bring this up real quick for you, so we can go ahead and run through it. Because here we go. So this should be it right here. Hold on.
The Entity.
Let me get out. Hold on. Let me get out of this. I have my other screen open on here. All right, so let me bring this back up because it's a crazy movie, bro. It's here we go, The Entity. So right here, okay. So it's a 1982 movie. Like I said, Barbara Lynn Hertzstein, better known as Barbara Hershey, is an American actress. Of course, she played the individual that was in it. But it's crazy because let me see. Let me look, see where it was at.
I just saw California.
Oh, actually, in the UK, it was actually published in 1983, or out there in 1923. So here's the part that I was talking about. Where she had paranormal experiences and she went to a doctor, somebody with a PhD, right? Because we always look for somebody with credentials and stuff like that. And she had a lot of stuff going on through her life. And here, let me see here. There's not too much stuff on Wikipedia on it, but I'm not going to say the words because I don't want to put it out there. But of course, if you can read these words right here, she had a lot of, essays happen to her from this entity. And it was crazy and it was scary. So that's why a lot of people try to, in so many ways, try to help her because she had, like I said, a lot of people have actually talked about it. It was about a lady, a case of Doris Bither. This is the lady right here. Okay, so we're going to go to her. Doris Bither was the case, also known as the entity haunting, was at a 1974 investigation into alleged paranormal phenomena in Culver City, California. I'm not sure exactly where that's at. I said San Francisco. Of course, I was wrong. And the only reason why I said San Francisco is because I had that car thing at that time. But yeah, it happened in Culver City, California. And And she had a lot of stuff happen to her. Like, it's like crazy based on a true story. So when and she died in 1999, which was crazy. But there's a lot of people who did an investigative on her. A lot of people didn't believe her. She went to doctors. Nobody couldn't explain it. Her kids witnessed it. Like some of the essays that happened to her from this entity. You know what I'm saying? So, and look, photographs of what appears to be lights are the only objective evidence gathered in the course of the visits. The images were both taken by both Taft and Gaynor with an instant film Polaroid SX, and this is how it looks: 70 camera and 35 mic camera. The investigators indicated they encountered moving balls of light, which sounds like what? UAPs.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But what images show takes a different appearance: a static circular band of light, an irregular bright line, and shapeless overexposed areas. And they brought infrared cameras to help her too, but accidentally overexposed the film, rendering it unusable, right? Which is possible because the technology that they had back then, right? They don't have HD, 4K and all this other stuff. But it even goes on to say, an analysis of the photographs attributed the result to common photography mistakes, such as thin object close to the camera or accidental manipulation of the exposure dial. And I can tell you, as somebody who is a photographer, I'm an amateur photographer, you can mess up so fast. I can tell you can take a picture of something and overexpose it by accident, underexpose it, ISO plays a part. I mean, there's so many technical words that goes with it. But based on Bither's story, his own observations and photographs, Taft concluded paranormal phenomena must have been involved, calling a case to haunting. And this dude, investigators like Benjamin Radford, you know what I'm saying, concluded the case likely involves distressed family, poor investigation techniques, and confirmation bias. You can look at that however you want to. But this lady was telling people what's happened to her. She was having bruises on her when she was in the bed. She was having things happen to her car. Like I told you, her brake line was coming off. So this right here, I think you would enjoy this movie, bro. I really do. Yeah. And the reason why I say that a lot is because you talk a lot about, well, I'm not going to say you talk a lot, but you do talk frequently about paranormal activity. So what do you think about that?
I think it's very interesting. I actually interviewed a lady called Tony, and I can't remember what episode number it was, but she was based in California. And going back, she's only just started sharing this recently, but this happened a few years back. She was living in a house on her own in California. I think she had a dog, and that was it. She lived on her own. She found out that the house that she moved into, there was a lot of occult practices going on in the house. The people that lived there before, had some bad parties, let's say, and occult magic was presumed to be used there by the neighbors. She was told about this. And she said, like, there was definitely a feeling in this house, and certain rooms she felt very uncomfortable. And she had an experience one night where she was literally attacked by an entity that she couldn't see. And, she was thrown around the room. Her dog was also thrown around the room. She had this, terrible night where she was physically beaten by seemingly nothing that she could see. Right. It took her a long time to come out and talk about this. But that, it's these things happen, man. It's a scary thought that we can be attacked by unseen entities, but it seems to be, it happens to many people. People don't often want to talk about this kind of stuff, but so that sounds like a very similar kind of experience that
exactly,
happened to Tony as well.
Yeah, it definitely does. When you were saying that, I was like, damn, that sounds like the movie. And you'll probably get a better idea if you watch this movie. And possibly ask her if she knows about this movie. Like I said, this movie came out in 1983, bro. So, or 1982, and I'm an 80. I was born in 83, so of course I watched it later on. But
I'm 87. I am. So I'm just
87, 80s baby, bro. That's why I got. That's why I feel your aura, bro. That's why I feel like you somebody I can.
Best generation. We grew up in the 90s, which I would say is probably the best time to grow up. I know we're biased because that's when we grew up, but we had it all, man. And then early 2000s in our teenage years, great times, man.
Yeah, we know how to we know how to manipulate our surroundings, meaning that we know how to adjust to our surroundings. We make our surroundings us, basically, right? You know, so we've been through it. You know, say the '80s kids. You know, but it's crazy. You know, because you mentioned the movie Paranormal Activity, and I actually like that first one too. But what's that one movie with those kids that went in the woods? Shit.
Blair Witch.
Man, I can't. Yeah, there we go. Blair Witch. That's another movie that freaked me out. Even though that I know that it was fake, it was just the ending when that dude was in that corner and he was kind of levitating a little bit. That shit scared the hell out of me. Man. But let's think about this for a second. You know, people make these movies and these shows and all this other stuff based off of real events, right? Because I can tell right now, everywhere around the world, if you go deep enough in the woods, you're going to encounter some paranormal shit. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? They witchcraft, you know, pagans that are out there, all this other stuff. But it's not scary. It's only scary because you're not knowledgeable on what they're doing. This is no different than most religions, right? When religions told us to do certain things, you will wonder why. Like, why do I need to put blood on my door so God doesn't come and smite me? You know what I'm saying? That's what's written in the Bible. You know, put blood on your door basically so God knows not to smite you. But if he's an all-knowing God, why in the hell do I have to put blood on my door in the first place? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Let me ask you, man, because I love your aura, bro. You know, we already 41 minutes in and we was talking about only an hour.
Bro, yeah. That's what happens. That's the other cool thing about podcasting is time, because you tell someone you're going to talk to someone for 2 hours, whatever it is, and people go, oh, you're going to do that? That's going to... When you talk and have these conversations, it goes like that because you're in the moment. You're not on your cell phone. You know, you're just in that moment having the conversation. And that's another thing about podcasting that I really enjoy. You know, having these moments where you switch off from the world, basically, and it's just us and the audience, and that's it.
And finding the right people helps with that. You know what I'm saying? Finding the right people would definitely take the load off your shoulders on trying to be, you know, I don't have, and you said it yourself, I don't have any experience on interviewing people. Just one day out the blue, I just said, fuck it, I'm going to do a podcast. And I learned, I mean, I tell people all the time, go to my earliest videos because I have all my videos on my YouTube. I don't have them all on my Spotify and my Rumble, of course, and stuff like that. But everything that I've done is on YouTube, from TikToks videos to all kinds of stuff. And it was only because I was trying to understand, how can I send my message to the people around me, right? How can I share what I've learned, what I've researched, what I've done to the rest of the world? And it's not that I'm trying to do it because I want to be the biggest man on campus. Matter of fact, I don't even want to be popular for this shit. You know what I'm saying? If it happens, it happens, but I'm not doing it. It's a passion of mine. Just like you said, we in the 80s, bro, we're at the timing of our age where, you know, they say 40 is our peak years. You know what I'm saying? That's when the man understands how to be more of a man, you know, what he learned from his teenage years, his younger years, and what he can bring to the table in his later years. You know, you have a wife and kids and so on and so forth. So you want to be there as long as you possibly can, but you also want to be able to achieve your own, achieve your own, do your own passion, basically. You want to do, we all have a hobby. I used to love working on cars, but you can't work on these fucking 2020 cars, 25 cars, 26 cars like you could in the 1980s.
They're like robots now.
Yeah, they have
just turning into...
exactly. You got to take them to the shop because if you do something, it voids the warranty. They have to reset the computer. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff. So my hobbies have changed because of technology. And I've always been interested in history. I've always been interested in ghosts, UFOs, all kinds of subjects, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the Yeti, so on and so forth. And I actually did an article on, I'm going to bring it up real quick. I actually did an article on Bigfoot. So what I've learned is that Bigfoot, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, Bigfoot is an individual that most people believe that is an individual who lives in the woods, somebody who can communicate with the animals, but at the same time communicate with humans in so many different ways. There was a lady that I did a episode on, or an article on, and the YouTube channel is no longer up, but she used to have a friendly relationship with the Bigfoot. I can't remember the name. I'm trying to bring it up now, right? Of course. Do you know who I'm talking about by any chance?
I'm not sure. I did read a book a few years back, a lady called April. I can't remember her second name, but she wrote this incredible book about a guy that had a close interactions with Sasquatch, and she got close to this guy, and she was kind of learning off him some of the ways of the Sasquatch, and she did have an experience when she was a kid, which kind of led her to be interested in the subject. She did see 2 Bigfoot when she was very young. But I don't know if that's who you're talking about. It might be her.
No. So I did this article 3 years ago, July 19th, 2023. Enkidu. I'm not sure if you know who Enkidu is. He was a best friend of Gilgamesh. You know who Gilgamesh is? Okay.
Yeah.
So he was a friend of Gilgamesh. And of course, there's a lot of ideas about him. But here it is right here. So,
okay.
And the YouTube channel is no longer, let me see if I can bring this up, because the YouTube channel of her discussing this is no longer available. Like it's gone. But let's see, what's her name? Linda Godfrey. That's her name. Let me look this up real quick.
Linda Godfrey.
You know who I'm talking about?
I recognize that name. Yeah.
What do you remember from her?
Is it Linda Godfrey? Am I thinking of the right lady? That's not the lady that passed away recently, is it?
She passed away in let's see, I think she passed away in, let me see, she passed away at 71 in shit, I don't know where she passed away. I have to look it up to find out.
I might be thinking, I know what we said before we started recording. I'm terrible with names. That is what I work with.
I am too. I'm more familiar with faces and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Names. Forget my kids' names, like we said before.
So here's her. This was a website of hers, Linda Godfrey. Yeah, she has an actual website, and she used to have a relationship when she was a little kid. She was in the woods. She seen Bigfoot or whatnot. Let me see if I can make this bigger for you. And let's see. Oh no, that's not going to do it. Let's see. Go down. There we go. So lindagodfrey.com. You know what? Let's actually go to our website and see what she says. Because she talks about basically Bigfoot and how she had, I spelled that all kinds wrong. Linda Godfrey.
I can't spell either.
This is her website right here, and she actually had, and I don't know, I can't remember when she wrote this article, so I have to go back and look through all that stuff. But she literally talked about Bigfoot and how she had a relationship with this Bigfoot when she was a younger child, and that she would talk to him and have conversations with them and stuff like that. And this Bigfoot would bring them to the family, and she used to have this video, and I could probably look it up because it's no longer on YouTube, but somebody else might have it. And if I find it again, I'm screenshotting and recording it so I can have it. But she talks about this experience with Bigfoot. Now, like I said, I did a podcast or an article on Bigfoot, and what I've learned about Bigfoot is that from the Sumerians, you know about the Sumerians, the Akkadians, Mesopotamians, the same people that talk about the Anunnaki, Gilgamesh, and all this other stuff. She basically, in so many ways, if you look at Enkidu, he is described as what could be what we would describe as a Bigfoot. He had long hair. He mingled with the animals in the woods. And then later on, the people of Mesopotamia sent a prostitute to kind of convince him to come into the humans because they needed Enkidu to fight their leader Gilgamesh. And like I said, I did a whole article on it. And it's so interesting that, you know, we have ideas of these historical people like Gilgamesh and Enkidu or Bigfoot that goes back thousands of years. You go to any of the continents on this planet except Antarctica, of course, because we don't have any information or artifacts on there. You would read about Yeti or the snowman or this, that, and the third, and they're talking about Bigfoot.
It's in every culture, around the world. In every culture, it might have a different name, but they're ultimately describing the same creatures. In the UK, you go back hundreds of years, you've got the woodmen, the woodmen of the woods. You know, that is a Bigfoot. That is what people are describing as Bigfoot. And it's in every culture all around the world. You know, Australia, you've got the Yowie. You know, Russia have got Bigfoot. Everywhere's got the Yeti, as you said. And that's what I find so interesting about the subject, because it's in every culture. And why would they be describing the same creature? And I know that's not just Bigfoot. There's a lot of similarities between all our cultures, which probably lends to the fact that we were more one at one stage, you know, maybe it wasn't, you know. But how would different cultures around the world that apparently can't communicate with each other be describing the same creatures if they didn't exist, you know? So that's what I mean. There's so many different names for these things.
Yeah, I put 10 names on this article: Sasquatch, Yeti, Skunk Ape, Yowie, Alma, Grassman, Wildman, Woodburger, Momo, Yaren. You know what I'm saying? It's so crazy.
And if you write in Native American, every Native American tribe in North America had a name for these creatures, and there's like hundreds of different names, but it's the same thing, but they all had different names for it. You know,
the name changes, but the description doesn't. And that's what makes me fascinated in this. Like I said, you know, I was interested in this, and I actually, if you go to this website and anomalien.com, I'm not sure if I said that right, but it's ANOMALIEN.com. It literally tells you this is her right here. This is her talking about. The American Bigfoot researcher Linda Godfrey has been in touch with a woman named Susie Suderman from the state of Maine. So Godfrey, she actually had the information from Susie. You know what I'm saying? That's what they say her name is. But I think personally, it was Linda Godfrey. I think that's who she was.
Maybe,
because you know, a lot of people don't want to put their names out there for things because of the simple fact that they don't want to have what can I say?
The stigma
coming in. Yeah, exactly. So when I read, and I'm saying this personally just for myself, I believe Linda Godfrey is Susie. I really believe. You know what I'm saying? Because how could you be so into this and know so much information but have a pseudonym name? You know what I'm saying?
And if she does get backlash from it, she can say, you know, it wasn't me. I was just reporting what I was finding out. Yeah. Which is like the book that I read, which was called Enoch. And it was a great book. And I've talked to a lot of different Bigfoot people, and some people say to me, you know, that they found out that wasn't true, you know, and again, it's very difficult because people say stuff like that without really knowing much about it. So when someone tells me something's not true, I take that with a pinch of salt, because people get those sort of, you know, ideas and they put them out there, and they say they might have heard it from somewhere that book wasn't true, and you know, they say, oh, it wasn't true, you know, but you don't really know. So unless you really know, don't say it's not true, basically. But so this book was called Enoch, and it was a lady, April was her name, and she was interviewing a guy that was claiming, it was in Florida, he was claiming to have relations with a group of Sasquatch. It was very interesting, man, and it kind of describes
in Florida. Do you remember where in Florida?
I can't remember exactly where. I've got the book somewhere. If I find it, I'll send it to you. But he witnessed the tribes of Bigfoot, basically, and he said when they passed, when one of them died, they would lift up a tree and bury the Bigfoot, you know, under the tree, which kind of,
I've read that before.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept. And again, I don't know if this book is legit. I don't know. It was a great book, I will say that. Very interesting. I hope it was legit. But
No, I've read the same thing, bro. That when these Bigfoots, when they die, they bury them under the tree, and they take the resources from the Bigfoot to continue to grow the tree. That's like it's a food source, I guess, or a type of food source. You know, they always become Earth some way, and you know, yeah. So I definitely read that before, bro. Like it's so crazy. Matter of fact, I just clicked on the link that I have on my website about Godfrey Higgin on that, or Godfrey Higgin. Guy, I said Godfrey Higgin because he's my favorite historian. But this is a woman, like I said, this is a woman in childhood was friends with the whole Bigfoot family. And this was in March 17, 2019 by Jake Carter. He wrote about it. And that's how I found about the YouTube video. And, you know, they have pictures of Susie's house, which I believe is that lady that actually that said she interviewed her, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to subscribe because I've already done that plenty of times. I don't know why it keeps popping up. But this video is no longer available, and that's what pissed me off. Because when I first came into this, I didn't realize that I could have recorded it. You know, the internet's forever, but you got to find it. I'm sure somebody else has it somewhere, and I can look for it. I probably just need to look for it.
So what was on the video? Was it her like
an explanation of exactly what happened?
Oh, okay.
So it was a YouTube video exactly what happened. And they showed this video where it wouldn't show this individual's face. And then, you know, the lady, Linda, was the one, I think that was her name, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that was talking about it and stuff like that. So they did a whole documentary on this, bro, like straight up documentary on it. And it's so crazy because when you go down and you go to sources and references, this is the only two sources that you get. So you don't really get too much. But I can tell you as a personal experience who actually done my research, I knew the video. I watched the video and I should have recorded it. Like I said, I could probably find it later on. And maybe I will after this because we're talking about it. You know, Bigfoot has been a very important thing to a lot of people because when it comes to UFOs, a lot of people say when they see Bigfoot, what do they usually see in the sky? They say they see an orb. Have you heard that plenty of times before?
Oh, man, plenty of times. Yeah. I had a guest on called Bruce, a cool guy. He was, this was in upstate New York, and he was kind of filming, looking through, what they called, the night vision kind of goggles. No, what is it? The heat sensor goggles called?
Infrared.
Infrared. So he's looking for infrared, and he said he kind of saw this like light appear, and he said he saw two humanoid entities stepping out, and he guessed they were like 6 to 8 foot. He said they were quite big, and he witnessed them like walking along the forest and then disappeared again. So there's so many claims like that. There's so many accounts like that in the Bigfoot world. I'm sure you know this. There's two kind of camps really. There's the flesh and blood people that believe these creatures are just like a type of undiscovered ape, you know, and then you get people that are like, these are, you know, interdimensional, they're supernatural, there's something going on there, a science that we don't understand, and they can clash sometimes. I'm kind of in the middle when it comes to Bigfoot. I like to think, you know, I think it's possible that there are creatures out there that are just flesh and blood, that are like an undiscovered primate maybe that we've not discovered yet, or an offshoot to us and more human, but they could be. But then I also think there is a side to this where there is a supernatural element, whether it's a natural thing that we just don't understand, or whether they are actually, you know, entities of the forest. I don't know, but there's so much there, man. There's so many different ideas, and sometimes they can clash in the Bigfoot world. But so many people see these things, you know, there's so many accounts, and not everyone shares them accounts, you know, not everyone, as you said, the stigma that comes with this kind of thing, not everyone does want to share that they've seen something strange that they can't explain. But there's so much evidence there to support that these things are still out there.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't want that backlash. That's what it is. You don't know, they got careers on their line, they got degrees, they got tenures, they got all kinds of things on the line. And if they say something that's not normally accepted, they want to throw them into the mental hospital because they think they're crazy. You know, I always said this, you know, I don't understand how people can think this stuff is crazy or how it could be looked as somebody should be thrown in a mental hospital when you read the Bible. Okay, because Ezekiel's seen stuff in the sky. Jacob's ladder, you know, they seen these things not visually. Because one thing that I like about the Bible is that you have to pay attention to the words that they're using. So when you read the Bible and you read the word vision, okay, they use that a lot in the Bible when they talk about God or these events that happen through our lifetime. When you look up the etymology dictionary definition of vision, it literally means something in the imagination. Literally, that's what I've learned. But that doesn't take away that these individuals were somehow able to meditate this stuff, take certain type of psychedelics to get this stuff, or even fasted in some ways. A lot of people, when they hear the word fasting, they think that you need to stop eating, drinking water. No, you don't need to stop doing that for a time frame. Fasting can be anything. It could be stopping from, let's not smoke too much cigarettes this month, or I don't want to have sex this whole 60 days, or I'm not going to drink alcohol. That's fasting, right? It's something that you enjoy, that you can say, I can control my habits, my vice. Basically, I can control what I'm doing as an individual because I love smoking cigars, or I like having sex, or whatever the case may be. I can control it. That doesn't run my lifestyle. And that's what fasting basically means in so many ideas. A lot of people will say food and water or this, that, and the third, but that's not always the case. Fasting is doing something. Hell, fasting can be like, if you like watching sports, you don't watch sports for 30 days. That could be a way of how you can control your you know what I'm saying? Because we talked about soccer and football, right? You know what I'm saying? So imagine if somebody had to do that on every year. People who smoke marijuana, I've heard people say that they take tolerance breaks. You know what I'm saying? They might smoke for 6 months and then they take a break for 60 days. I've heard people who said that they drink alcohol, that they occasionally like to drink alcohol every day that they come home from work. And if they feel like they need to calm down on it, they will fast off of it. They won't drink alcohol, right? Television, same thing. People will watch TV and will say, hey, I'm not going to watch TV for these days. The hardest thing to fast right now is what? Our cell phones.
Cell phone. And I'm guilty of that, man. Bro, when it tells you the time you've been on your screen and you're like,
man, I have to set, I actually set my time on my social media to say, okay, I'm only going to be an hour or two on these social media devices. Once I hit that 2 hours, that's it.
Yeah, that's a
but
good
I've
thing
also
to do.
found it is, but you know what's the crazy thing? Sometimes I don't do it. It'll bring up the little notification on my phone, and I would say, remind me in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Remind me in another 15 minutes.
Because we kind of need to be on social media now. We kind of need to be on our cell phones. It's become such a big part of our world. It's like,
because we're social animals.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, even my work requires me to have a cell phone now. You know, you can't do a lot of things without a cell phone, you know, and it's kind of it's scary in a way, because it's whether we like it or not, I feel like it's going to become a part of us, which it already is, but I feel like it's going to get worse basically, and it's kind of worrying.
Do you really think it's going to get worse, or do you think it's going to get better?
It depends. See,
because that's a hard way to put it.
I sit on the fence, and my opinion changes every day. Right now, as of today, I think I like the fact that we got our cell phones. I like the fact that we can put them in another room and leave it. I do feel like coming very soon that it's going to be a part of us, you know, and I don't want that. I don't want that. But I do feel like there is going to be, you know, it's all people are already wearing like the Apple, you know, glasses and stuff like that. That's already becoming a part of us, connected to us. You know, the chip thing people say about taking the chip, which is very controversial, and you know, but I'm sure that is probably going to happen at some point, where we do put some kind of a device in us where we are literally connected to the web or whatever we're connected to. That kind of scares me, because I feel like then we're becoming away from what we really are. You know, we're already losing a lot of our instincts and stuff, and you know, our natural human gifts that we have, you know, are already kind of probably disappearing because we're entering a new kind of world with this technology. So it's kind of why, I mean, cars are driving themselves now, and as you said about cars earlier, cars are literally driving themselves now, and that's only going to get more and more. It's probably going to get to a phase where we just get in our car, tell it where we want to go, and it takes us. We don't drive at all. That's
take you a nap while you trying to get to the next location. That, you know how easy drives would be.
That does sound quite cool. That actually sounds quite good, to be fair. But you know what I mean? We're so dependent on it now, the technology.
But are we really, or are we using this to benefit ourselves? Because let's think about it, man. You said cars are driving themselves. You got to remember, bro, people were using horses to get around.
That's true.
And you know what I'm saying? And
yeah, that's
you know,
very true.
These horses are just like us. They have you know, ailments. You know what I'm saying? A horse can get arthritis. You can have an heart attack. It could get bit by a snake. Now you stuck 30 miles out from your city. Now you gotta walk your ass back to this.
That's fair. That is very true.
At least with a Tesla, you could be like, yo, call somebody to come pick my ass up.
Send the drones. Send the drones.
Yes, send the drones. But yeah, seriously, I agree with you, man. I think in some ways it's going to be a benefit for us, and then I also think it's going to take away from us. I'll give you a good example. I learned about, when I read about the Garden of Eden from Adam and Eve, one of the things that I've researched was that, you know, what was the forbidden fruit that was given to us? And I've read so many times through so many different people that it was basically metallurgy. That's why we have agricultural needs. What does metallurgy include? It helps us toil the earth, right? But what else does metallurgy does to us? We can create weapons of mass destruction, knives. We can create bullets, guns, and swords, spears, and all kinds of stuff. So as much as that we need agriculture to survive from metallurgy to, you know, to toil the earth, because you can't use sticks because sticks would break easily trying to toil the earth. You need something strong and hard. If that metal was used for agriculture to sustain life, that same metal can be used to destroy life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, do you want to be a continued hunter-gatherer where you got a hunter of food every single day and kill your animal, skin it every single day, take the meat out and fry it and cook it however you want it? That's a long process. Or do you want to be able to, you know, have you a stove, a kitchen, metal, and, you know, pots and pans, and, you know, you throw that 12-ounce steak right on that frying pan or that grill, you know what I'm saying? And then you cook. But then that same thing that created that sustainment for us, we can create weapons to kill us. You know what I'm saying? This person has steaks. I don't like steaks, but I like pork chops, or vice versa. I have pork chops. I want a steak. This person doesn't want to give me a steak. Now I'm going to use this weapon to take over their land so I can have steaks. So I can have steaks and pork chops. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of things that I think about. You know, we have a lot of things in our life and our history, which things can be used for good things and things can be used for bad things. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And it's sad because, you know, just like, you know, 20 years ago, we couldn't have this type of conversation, right? We could, in a sense, kind of with Skype, depending on, you know, the availabilities and then, you know, the type of internet that you have. If you have fiber optics and all this other stuff, there's so much stuff that plays a part with it. But we wouldn't be able to talk to each other like this. You're in the UK, I'm in Georgia, bro, in America. You know, we're
and it's like we're in the same room, and it's like we're
exactly.
In the same, and that is what's so cool. And there is a lot of fantastic stuff coming out of the technology that we're creating, 100%. You know, and a part of that is the world being a lot more connected than it's ever been, really. You know, I know there's a lot of division. There's obviously horrible things going on in certain places around the world, but ultimately, the world is a lot more connected than ever before. Well, maybe not ever before. Maybe hundreds of years ago, we were a lot more connected and we got wiped out and started again. But right now, you know, we are so connected. You know, we can do this and we can be in the same room, be on, you know, you can talk to people in Australia wherever, and you're in the same place at the same time, and it's incredible, you know. And in that sense, the technology is pretty amazing, and I'm sure it's going to get to a point where me and you can put on a headset and we can literally shake each other's hands and have a beer in the same, well, feeling like we're in the same room, like
right at the pub, bro.
At the pub, and we can do a podcast there, you know. And that's probably coming a lot quicker than we think. You know, that's probably going to be
probably the next 10 years, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least within the next 10 years.
Yeah,
right? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy because. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go, man.
See, I love your aura, bro. I love your aura, man. You're a cool ass dude, bro. I'm definitely gonna come to the UK to
100%, man.
But
we're going to the pub.
Yeah, hell yeah, you damn right. But you know, it's crazy because we are social animals, you know, and that's why I said earlier we have to learn how to understand everybody's personality. You don't have to like everybody. Everybody's not your cup of tea. You know what I'm saying? I am sometimes rough around the edges. Like I said, I know my faults, and it's only because of what I've been through. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I know that if I actually made somebody feel uncomfortable or if made somebody feel hurt and they didn't do anything to me and I just did it out of, I call it PTSD mode, I would definitely apologize for it. But, you know, I'm that type of person where I feel like, look, I grew up in the 80s. You grew up in the 80s. Just don't try me and I won't try you. And that's basically how you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I try to be in the sense of I just want to be human, and I am human. You know what I'm saying? We have emotions, we have thoughts, we have beliefs, and that's all okay. Not everybody has to agree with it, enjoy it, and like it. But when you can find a common ground, that's where it counts. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're really wanting to know about something, sometimes you have to sit down with the person you hate the most to get the information you might need. And that's sad. That's sad that it has to be that way. But is it really sad? Or is that teaching you that every human is different? Because I can guarantee you, just like you said about aliens and UFOs and all that stuff earlier, if we can have these different emotions among humans, right? Because no human that you met was the same type of human. They were all had different personalities, characters, and stuff like that. Then these individuals had to have it, because when you read these ancient texts, they had these same type of personalities. And we have to understand that maybe we're here on planet Earth, but somebody from a distant planet might have the same personality as us, right? You know what I'm saying? Or in a sense, some type of personality. You know, you know, what is our emotions? What do our senses tell us? What do we do as individuals to, you know, broaden our mind and concept of what is around us? And you have to really take what you think you know and push it to the back of your head and be like, I got to know the truth some way or another. But that's why I asked you earlier, how do you decide fact over fiction? And that's really a hard thing, because what is proof? You're in the UK. I follow a lot of stuff that's in the UK. Y'all don't have a lot of freedom of speech like some people do. There's a lot of things going on in the UK that is disgusting. I've been following it like crazy. Very, very disgusting.
We're fighting back. We're fighting back.
That's
the good thing. But it is getting crazy. You're right. It is very, very concerning.
Yeah, that's the perfect word to use. Concerning. It is very concerning, because once you take away people's right to speak, then you take away every freedom that they have ever had. Because speaking is the least thing that should hurt somebody. Yeah, it hurts people. You know what I'm saying? But it's taking away somebody's rights it hurts them more. You know what I'm saying? Taking away them speaking their mind. You know, if social media is supposed to be there to be socialized, then you should be able to speak your mind in that social media. It shouldn't be a place where you have to put on a mask to be accepted by others. You know what I'm saying? Being accepted by others is not a good thing. I learned that a long time. People will accept you for you are, whether you do the good thing or bad thing. I mean, you can look at Hitler. People accepted Hitler, right?
Yeah,
you know, Mussolini, right? You know, Kim Jong-il, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure about it. They have to. They have to accept it.
But you're right. They have to. But that's where it comes to when you're being forced to do something that you don't want to do. You know what I'm saying? And it starts with your freedom of speech. You know what I'm saying? You can't
Absolutely.
speak about certain things,
It's
right?
the most important thing. It's the most
Yeah.
important thing. Because
We're
you're
the
going to hear
only
a lot.
people. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you hear a lot of things that you're not going to like, obviously.
Yeah.
But that is, as you say, that's a part of learning, because nobody agrees on everything about everything. You know, but everybody's got different opinions. Everyone in the world is slightly different and has slightly different opinions. And you're going to hear stuff you don't like. You're going to hear stuff you don't agree with. And it's important that you have these conversations, because, you know, if you shut down everything that you don't agree with, and they take away that right, it's only going to get thinner and thinner. And eventually you can't say anything. You know, it's just going to be, yeah. So it's very important that we stand up for our speech, and yeah, and it's, if it will start with the UK, or, you know, I know some other places are worse, but, you know, it will spread. You know, these things spread as well. So it's very important that the world stands up to, you know, for free speech. You know, it's the most important thing, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Let me ask you something, man. What is your favorite civilization?
Ooh. Favorite civilization? I'm not sure, man.
I be hearing you with those questions. I told you, man, this is the prelude. I said it before we even started. I said it's the prelude, because we're definitely going to have different conversations, conversations from. I can see it already.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. My favorite civilization. So what would you class? What would you say? Give me some examples of the civilizations, and I'll.
I like the Sumerians. I like the Akkadians. I like the Greeks. I like the Egyptians. I like the Ainu people from Japan. I like the Native Americans, because you mentioned them. They're a civilization. I definitely love the history between UK and America.
Yeah,
and the
that's
reason why.
Yeah,
I really love that, and the reason why is because from that side of the world to here, you could see how, and just in our speaking, how it changed. You know, our accents and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's probably my favorite right now, and I'm really looking into like the birth of the US, of what it is today. And what I find so interesting about that is 250 years old. It's like it's nothing. That's so young. It's so new. The America that we know today is so new, and we can kind of, I know history gets changed, and, you know, certain things may not be 100% accurate, but with the history of the US as it is today, we can kind of see exactly how that started. Like, I'm fascinated by shows like, I don't know if you've seen 1982. Have you seen that show?
Yeah, I see that. That's what's that?
The Yellowstone. It's like the Yellowstone.
Yeah, the Yellowstone. Yeah.
Shows like that, man, which blow my mind. They're great shows. Wild times. I know we live in wild times now, but it was very wild then, and probably a lot worse then, because, you know, outlaws and stuff like that. But that's not long ago at all. And that's what kind of, I find that so fascinating, how we've moved from in 250 years to what we are now. That kind of blows my mind. And also with like New England and stuff, I'm fascinated by New England, because all the names in New England are exactly the same as names as in the UK. You know, they're all the same names. It's like they went to New England, they went to the New World, and they were like, let's not think of new names. Let's just use these names. And they just literally created the same kind of place. But, you know, and that, I love that.
It blows your mind, right?
I find it fascinating.
It blows your mind. Yeah, it's crazy, because, you know, like I said, I've been in Europe, and I've been all around those areas when I was younger, and I can tell you, you know, we're not that much different. You know, you like beer, I like beer. You know what I'm saying? You like podcasting, I like podcasting. You like hats, I like hats. We're both wearing hoodies right now. You know what I'm saying? So we have common.
We watch the same films, same TV shows, you know?
Exactly. So we're not that different. The only difference is in us is the simple fact that, you know, our beliefs. But does that really make us different? Because our beliefs are based on, you know, similarities from the get-go. You know what I'm saying? What religion did you grow up on?
So I'm a Christian. I've always always been really, that my family's not ultra religious, but we've always had that. We've always lived by the Christian way, basically, which most people in the UK do. Even people that will say they're not Christians, most people, Christian values is basically what the UK is built on. And that's always been, a part of my belief system. I was given a Bible, that I do keep next to me because I have a lot of wild conversations. So I've always got the Bible there, which I've had since I was a baby. It's the first thing I was given. So that's kind of been, it's always been there really for me. I'm not, as I say, I'm not ultra religious in the sense that I don't go to church every Sunday, but I kind of feel like you don't have to, it's more of a, for me, more of a personal thing. Like I'll pray and stuff like that. And, it's just a belief that I've always had really, it's not something that's ever been pushed on me from my family. It's just a natural, as I say, I grew up in a pretty much a Christian school where the Christian way was taught basically. And that's been it really. That's been my life really, but I'm very open to listening to other religions and and other ideas. I think it's important to do that as well, and to learn that, because you look at a lot of the major religions in the world, there's so many similarities, obviously the great floods and stuff like that, and so it's all probably a part of the same thing. There's just been slight differences here and there, and people as people are corrupt, and there's a lot of corruption, so things have been changed over hundreds of years, and so stuff like that. So I'm very aware of stuff like that, but mainly it's I would say Christian is what I've always been.
Yeah, it's not hard to be a good person. You know what I'm saying? Somebody knocks on your door and asks you for some water. You don't have to be a Christian to give it to them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what Christ was teaching us. It was later after his death where, Christianity became a religion. You know what I'm saying? He was just trying to tell people, look, just be a good person. If somebody needs help with something, do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If your neighbor is having or struggling in something and you can help them out, do it. A good example of that is my next door neighbor, his lawnmower keeps breaking. I have a riding lawnmower. So every time I cut my front yard and my backyard, I will at least cut his front yard for him, because I know he has trouble with his lawnmowers. You know what I'm saying? And he actually bought a couple of them, and he bought them used, of course, and they kept breaking them. And I'm like, yo, I'll cut your grass. And he was like, man, how much money would you charge me? I said, bro, you don't have to give me nothing. And I did tell him personally, I did say, look, bro, just to make it, easier for him than to not think that, he owes me one. I just said, bro, whenever I ask you for something, I just expect you to do it. You know what I'm saying? So that way he doesn't feel guilty me doing it, because, when somebody does something for you, like he can hear the lawnmower when I'm in his front yard cutting his grass. He has cameras in front of his house, so he knows when I'm cutting it. You know what I'm saying? And I told him, I said, look, man, I have a riding lawnmower. It takes me 5 minutes to cut your front yard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's 5 minutes out my life to help somebody that needs it? That's nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a lot of people
would. It's a nice way to be.
Yeah, it's the small things that help. You know what I'm saying? Because he works a lot. You know what I'm saying? He just moved into the neighborhood. And you know what I'm saying? I've been cutting his front yard almost every 2 or 3 weeks for the last 2 years for him. And don't expect anything from him.
You need to start charging him.
It's so funny that you say that, because we talked about this offline, and I said the best way to support me is just by going to my website that has no ads at all. Like, I know people don't like to, help people with monetization and so on and so forth, because they're trying to do their own thing. But just click on one of my articles and leave it open for 5 minutes just to show that, hey, you support me. That's easy. You know what I'm saying? When somebody I tell people this all the time, and this is what I did with your stuff. This is what I did. I would go take a shower and do laundry or wash clothes or something, and I would put I'll have my wireless headphones on, and I would turn on one of your videos. That's actually how I found out that I logged into my other account when I subscribed to your channel. I went in, I wasn't commenting, I was liking. I was like, why isn't this shit showing up on my side? And I was like, oh, that's why, because I have it on my different account. But You know, I would go into the bathroom, go take me a quick shower, and I have your stuff playing in the background. I would go do the dishes,
thank
and
you,
I would have your
yeah.
stuff playing in the background. I would do laundry. I would have your stuff playing in the background. For one, you share good stuff and it's interesting. So I'm definitely going to listen to it. And what attracted me to you, like I said, was Alexander. You know, he's in common with both of us. And it doesn't take hard. It's not hard to support somebody. So I always told him, I said, look, man, if you want to support me, bro, or whatever I do, just go to my website, log into my website, and just read one of my articles. And when I ask you a question about my website, you could tell me what you read, and I know that you supported me. You know, that's an even enough trade. You don't have to do anything out of your time to do that. And you get your grass cut by me.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. And it is important to support each other in everything. It really is. And it's just a nice way to be as well. You know, you feel good about yourself when you support others and you show love and you get love back. I think I think what the energy you put out, I think you get back. I think that's very important as well. So
yeah.
My
only problem, you're right. My only problem is, as much as love that I give out there, I can give the same amount of hate that I have for somebody, even though I don't technically hate somebody. But I can tell you that what I mean by that is that how can I say this? I always support somebody, so I will comment on their YouTube, their Facebook, and stuff like that. But once you disrespect me and your stuff pops up on my stuff, then I'm gonna be like, yeah, you're wrong. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it with it. You know what I'm saying? I'll sugarcoat it other ways, but not in the sense that makes you feel happy. I want you to do your due diligence and your research. One of the things that I harp on a lot is that believe half of what you hear, believe half of what you see, and only believe what your heart tells you.
Yeah, man.
You take all that stuff in there and you apply it to your heart and you say, okay, what makes sense to me, honestly? And you have to ask yourself those honest questions, right? Is there life outside of Earth's atmosphere? Love would tell you there has to be. Why? Just for the simple fact that mathematically and by the grace of God that people say, there has to be something outside ourselves, right? There has to be something that we have to look forward to. And a lot of people don't understand that. And it takes a lot to be a human, man. Like, a lot of people don't understand that you're going to make mistakes in life. You're going to say things that don't sound right. You're going to say things that are sounding stupid. It's how you react after that. And then, yes, sometimes you might get irate and get mad and angry and all that other stuff, but that's part of being human. And that's why I love this field of history, because as long as you find somebody authentic, and what I mean by authentic is that you can tell them, hey, bro, and I'm not saying this towards you, but hey, bro, that shirt doesn't look good on you. You know what I'm saying? Instead of saying, hey, man, yeah, go out. Let's go to the pub and you can wear that shirt and that shirt looks stupid as hell on you. Whether you like it or not is how you take it from somebody that you enjoy being around. I don't want to.
Absolutely, man. Going back to what you were saying as well about how do I accept my beliefs and stuff with, like, anything. I think what you said just then was very important about listening to your gut. Because I think that is very important. Your gut doesn't let you down very often. Obviously, your opinions can change, and that's important that you're open to changing your opinion as well, I think. But I think your gut is normally your guide. When you hear something and your gut tells you, yeah, that kind of sits well with me. That kind of makes a lot of sense. I think that's important to trust your gut and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, but a lot of people aren't honest with themselves when they listen to their gut. That's the problem. They want to believe something, and it sounds good to them, and it makes sense to them, but they're not honest with their. Let me find out what the facts are. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of a hit and miss. And that's what you did a podcast with somebody and was talking about this offline with vampires and vampirism. I believe you said the lady was named Angel or
Angel.
something like that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. She's from Florida.
Yeah. So, one of the things, I grew up on Blade. I know you watched the movie Blade. You watched all these vampire movies. One of my favorites. Yeah.
Love Buffy,
the vampire. Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? See, we got a lot of common, man, because I used to love that show too, man. And it's a lot of stuff out there that we don't know. And I was telling you I was watching this documentary on vampires and human modern vampires of today, and there are people who say they can look at somebody's blood and tell whether their protein is low, whether they have a disease in their blood, and that whatever they think they can find out about it. So it's a whole mess of things that I don't really understand because I'm not in that culture and that world. But they literally suck blood from other humans, and they need it to survive. You know what I'm saying? And they can taste, how if it's an A1 steak blood or B- steak, type of blood and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I actually have to watch that video because I clicked on it, but I fell asleep because I was sitting over here. I actually got narcolepsy. Sometimes I get tired and go to sleep real quick, but I had it up and I was listening 5-10 minutes in and I fell asleep. I was actually in the bedroom watching it on my AirPod or listening to it on my AirPods. And I was like, man, I got to go back and watch that. And that's part of one of the reasons why I wanted to connect to you. When I learned about vampires is that when you go to Samuel Noah Kramer, he's one of the individuals who translated the Sumerian text, right? And he's one of the individuals that know about the Anunnaki. He actually, and I want to know if you know this, he says that Lilith was considered a vampire. How much do you know about that, if you know anything?
Really? No, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yes. I know Lilith, obviously she appears in the Bible and things like that. I didn't know that. I didn't know she was connected to vampirism.
Yeah, that's something that I found, and I'm gonna see if I posted it on X. But yeah, she was considered, and I know this because I read this book like I want to say like 20 or 30 times, I want to say, because this book is a really important book. I did post it. Matter of fact, I posted it a few times and I'm about to repost it right now. And I'm going to do a little snippet that I do. Cause like whenever I talk about something or whenever I share something, I try to, have sources for it. And I have on my YouTube channel what I've learned from reading these books. So basically what I do is I take a book that I've read in my library and, I don't have any books right now with me. They're all over there, so I'm not going to get up and grab them. But I have these little tabs that I put on them, right? They're like little tabs that I put on them that shows, what's interested into me. And I go on my YouTube channel and I go through each one of those tabs and I talk more about it and read from the actual book. So I haven't listened to this. I just posted it. But this was from Samuel Noah Kramer. From his book. I posted it in July. Hold on, let me see. It's not. Oh, there we go. July 16, 2025. So of course last year. So I'm going to play this real quick so you can see what Samuel Noah Kramer says. It's only 15 seconds. So let's see. It's not tabbed up, but this is interesting because like I said, vampires. The next time you watch a movie about vampires, know that the Sumerians talked about vampires. And Lilith was the first vampire. So that was actually from a book snippet that I took that I've read. So it was actually, I read what actually Samuel Noah Kramer said in his book from that. And it's very interesting because I take literally what I've read from a book, not from, and when I mean from a book, I mean somebody that's, Samuel Noah Kramer is the guy that translated the Sumerian text. Like he is the guy. There's other people like George Smith, Andrew George, Jerry Black, and so on and so forth. But Samuel Noah Kramer did these in like 1956 and something, so on and so forth. And he literally describes Lilith as a vampire.
Interesting. So, the first vampire as well.
The first vampire. The very first one.
Yeah.
So that struck me very hard because if you look at the hoodie that I'm wearing, the white hoodie, you find a video. It's one of Samuel Noah Kramer's book. You see that white hoodie, you're going to read about it. I literally took the information from his book. So it's interesting to me that you have had discussions with people that talk about it in modern times. And then you have the ancient text that backs up what these people were saying. And that's what I like to do is I like to back up people, what they say based off of what I've read from people who are, reputable in their and their subject and stuff like that. So next time you have a discussion about it, and you know what, I'll try to look for the book if you remind me, and I'll take a picture of the actual paragraph, or I can find the YouTube channel. Of course, it's on my YouTube where I actually talk about it. It's interesting, right?
Yeah,
because
man.
you have all this stuff. Remember the movie Blade, right? The very first one, right? Remember how they was talking about all these ancient times and how this stuff went thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago? And yeah, it's exaggerated and all this other stuff in the movie, but all this stuff goes back to ancient times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And it just keeps evolving. I mean, and the vampires now, that when we talk to people that practice vampirism, you know, obviously there might be a supernatural element to it, but that lady I spoke to, she was just like into the vampire culture, and she was, her partner as well at the time was also into it. So they kind of practice vampirism, you know, they drank each other's blood and stuff, which I was kind of shocked about to hear. You know, I wasn't expecting that to come in that conversation, but you know, she was very open and honest about it. She said, you know, it wasn't something that she kind of was proud of. You know, it was a part of her history. And she took places. She said she only done it for a short time, but it was 5 years that she actually practiced vampirism. That's quite a long time, man. That's quite a long period of time to be, you know, involved in something like that. So it's very interesting. It's very interesting because for me, I wouldn't go there. Obviously, you know, again, everyone, it's a free world. People are entitled to do what they want to do. But it was quite a shocking one, that episode, for me, you know, because I wasn't kind of expecting it to go down that route. But yeah, I mean, people are still practicing, you know, there's still vampires out there, basically, you know.
Yeah, I was, like I said, I was watching a show, and then I came across your material, and I seen that you had did an episode on it, and I had already watched the show, and I was like, oh, let me watch this on YouTube or listen to this on YouTube. And I have fell asleep on it, of course. And I'm definitely going to go back and watch it because I just watched it I think 3 or 4 days ago. I was running through your YouTube channel. I try to get to know everybody's stuff and see what they share and stuff like that and play it in the background. You know, I don't listen to music too much because of the simple fact that music has changed since the 80s. You can only listen to so much old school music and it's sad that we could call it old school music now.
Yeah.
But there's so much you could do to listen to that stuff. So, you know, I'm that type of person where, you know, I think in reality, when you think of this type of stuff, it's only bad when you don't understand it. And it's only bad when you don't truly get the culture. Like, you're in the UK, I'm in America. You know what I'm saying? I'm in the South, I'm in Georgia. I'll take you about the places around here, you're going to be shocked. It's going to be a cultural shock to you. You take me to the places around you, it's going to be a cultural shock. You know what I'm saying? I'm into hip hop. I grew up in hip hop music. Yeah, I have a cowboy hat. I've always liked cowboy hats. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a quick story about that. When I was a little kid, you know, everybody was into hip hop. I'm into hip hop. I wear earrings, necklace. You know, I listen to music. I got bass in my truck, and you know, I'm very, you know, I love that type of stuff. But it's more the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s type music. But you know, that doesn't take away that, you know, I don't have to dress like that to be perceived as that. You know what I'm saying? I always felt that being a cowboy was a rugged look. You know what I'm saying? I'm a rugged type of man. You know what I'm saying? It's a rugged type of look. I used to wear fitted hats all the time, bro. Like all the time, man. And the only reason why I stopped wearing fitted hats was only because here in America, when you associate fitted hats, first of all, you got to be careful where you go with certain type of fitted hats. I'm sure that's the same way in the UK because I know about y'all culture over y'all. Even though y'all don't have guns like we have here, y'all definitely carry fucking knives. I know that.
Man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah.
So you have to be careful what kind of hats you wear here because these young kids around here nowadays, they always trying to push your limits and stuff like that. But I've always liked cowboy hats because it felt like it was me. My pops always used to watch Westerns when I was growing up. I always wanted cowboy boots. My parents never wanted to buy me cowboy boots. I turned like 40 years old and I said, you know what? I'm going to buy me some fucking cowboy boots. So I bought me some cowboy.
Yeah, man.
And then, You know what I'm saying? I went and bought me a cowboy hat. I used to rock a black cowboy hat, and then I just bought this one recently, like a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just feel like everybody on this planet should be able to do what they feel like they want to do, as far as it doesn't hurt anybody. If it doesn't take advantage of somebody, if you're doing it to please yourself and not take advantage of somebody else and hurt somebody, then do it. You know what I'm saying?
Agree,
and I
man.
feel like my mom's, like I told you, she's German. I was born in Germany. I grew up a couple of years in Germany until about like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, something like that. I can't remember.
Can you
And
speak
then I came
German?
to man, if I butcher it, I will butcher it. I will butcher it. It's been I don't really have anybody to speak German to. So every now and then I have an app on my phone where I will go in there and try to have a conversation, or I'll ask ChatGPT to have a conversation in German so I can kind of keep it going. But I'm not, it's not something that I like. If we was to talk German right now, bro, I would butcher it like crazy. You know what I'm saying?
I can't talk German.
You know
I
what
can English.
I
I just about can.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you was German and we was to have a conversation in German, I would definitely. But I can understand it because my mom used to speak German to us all the time and stuff like. But that's one of the things that I learned, is that throughout my time frame, that every culture use words differently. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to use the F word. F word, you probably a pile of sticks. You know what I'm saying? When I was younger, I used to, you probably already know what I'm talking about when it comes to the pile of sticks. You know what I'm saying? When people use that F word, I learned that it was different. And in some places it meant a loose cigarette. You know what I'm talking about now?
I know what you mean.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I sit there and say, yo, give me an F, they'll be like, what kind of crazy shit you talking about? I'm like, yo, just give me a loose cigarette, man. That's what I'm talking about.
In the UK, that's kind of not so much now, but there used to be like a very like common word to use.
Yeah, for a loose cigarette, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. But I would say, going back to like the culture, like how we talk now is pretty much the same because of YouTube, because of the TV shows. Like my kids, they use American terms all the time. Like my dad, my son said to me the other day, he's like, Dad, can you give me $10? He's 6 years old. He was like, can you give me $10? I'm like, yeah, I can give you $10. Obviously, we say pound, but the kids today, it's all very much the same. Like, we use the same terms now. So, yeah.
So he said bucks instead of pounds.
He says bucks, yeah, because he's watching YouTube all the time.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. Because you can see how it's changing just in your generation. In your bloodline alone, you can see how words would change things. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because I have a 7-year-old and 8-year-old, and my son is actually autistic. He's speech delayed, but he uses words where I can understand it. But if he was to talk to you, you might be a little bit confused, right? And with how can I say, it's not a culture thing, because that has nothing to do with culture, but you can see how people who don't use the same words as somebody else from a different area or a different element or a different situation, you could, in some way, you'll be confused, but you can make sense of it. It just takes you as a person to be human-like to understand it, right? And I feel like a lot of people don't understand it. Like we here in America, we're lazy. We use words as the most simplified way. You know what I'm saying? And depending on where you're at in this world, in America, some people will call it soda, some people will call it pop, right? And some people will call it soda pop. Combine the words together. So you can see how just being human will help us in a way of connecting to each other. And that's what we've been doing. Bro, we've been we're at 1 minute and 43 minutes, and I don't even feel like I just looked up to my screen. I see it going. We're at 2 hours, bro. Almost 2 hours. And this is what I really enjoy your company, man. And I think that what you're doing is awesome, bro. And don't stop. I hope to continue to watch your videos. I think you're an awesome individual.
Thank you, brother.
Your kids and your wife have a great man. I'm going to say that you're a great man. And I just met you because I've watched your videos. And even though I haven't met you personally, there's a way that you can see how somebody is through how they present themselves and how they talk and how they, do things. Sometimes you may have a bad day, sometimes you may have a good day, but you should always remember that everybody's going to have a day to live. So take that day that you live and do what you need to do. Let me ask you before we end this, man, what is the one thing that you want to find the answer for?
Oh, there's so much. The one thing that I want the one thing that I want to find, I would say, as of today, again, my opinion changes every day. I would love to prove to the masses that Bigfoot is real. I would love to, because I kind of believe Bigfoot's real. I've never seen one myself. The Patterson-Gimlin film, I believe, is real, which is a really obviously from the 60s.
The Patterson Gimbal, yeah.
Really cool video. I believe that's real. I would love for it to be like solid, undeniable proof. I know you could argue that there is already. So as of today, if I could prove the existence of Bigfoot, that would be amazing. Obviously, our history, I'd love to know our the exact history that we had. I would love to know that, and I think most people would. So actually, I take back Bigfoot. I would love to know our history. I would love to know.
Well, why is that so important to you, though?
I don't know, man. And to be honest, you're right, because the mystery of it does actually keep us ticking and keeps us inspired, I would say. But I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to get the answers to any of these questions. But I really would like to know the exact. Were we? You look at Egypt, for example. I mean, Egypt alone. I would love to know what put those pyramids there, what they were actually for. And that would be incredible just to know that, because we really don't know. There's a lot of good ideas, but I think we're getting to the point now where it's the history we just don't know, man. I would love to know just Egypt alone what the answers are, what the pyramids were, who put them there. Were we wiped out completely and there was a few survivors that kept us going, which is likely what happened. I know I've given you about 4 different things there, and you asked me what for one.
No,
but that's the problem. There's so much. I would like to prove Bigfoot as well.
So this is another question I have, because you struck my curiosity on this. What would be enough proof for you to be convinced, and what you think would convince other people that Bigfoot is real?
Oh, that's a great question. Because people say a body, that's something you hear quite a lot, but I don't know if that would really prove the existence. Video footage now, if you caught a Patterson-Gimlin type video now, tomorrow, people are not going to believe that because of AI. You still going to think that's not real. It's absolutely not real. I think the only way you could really convince the masses now is to literally have one of these creatures, not in a zoo, because that's obviously not nice, but in a location where we could really study them, and they were showing the world, exactly what they were doing. Exactly. Yeah. That would be the only real way, and for it to be because I mean, our government admit that there's UFOs. They say that we've seen you, and people still don't believe. I know people don't trust the government. I don't trust the government, but people don't believe that still. It's on our mainstream news, and people still won't accept that there's UFOs out there. So yeah, it's a tough one, but I
agree. No, you did it. I agree with you. I don't think a body would determine it being real or not, only because people will say so many different things. They'll be like, well, I wasn't there to see it, and I wasn't there to look at it. And because AI is so good right now, it would be hard to determine what's real. I just actually watched a video with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise from a Sea Dance 2.0 AI that actually created a fight between them two.
Oh wow.
And it looks so freaking real, bro. Like to the point. I actually told my wife this about 15, 20 years ago. I told her, I said, you know, this AI stuff that we're getting, you're not going to be able to determine whether somebody did something or not. You right now you can copy somebody's voice on your AI right now. And you can basically take a picture of somebody and tell AI to create a video from them. And because we have videos where we enhance our pictures and then videos into different forms like 4K and so on and so forth, even 8K in some cases, you won't be able to tell. I remember when 1080i came out, the TV, when that shit came out, I swear the movies that I watched prior to it looked so good, but then the movies that I watched after it looked so fake. Good example of that is, I believe, Fast and the Furious 2, when they was in the club. If you watch it in its original format, it looked so good because it was kind of blurry. But then when you add that 1080 or 4K element to it and you watch that same exact club scene, the one where the dude is putting the rat on that guy's chest and he's heating up the metal.
Yeah, man,
when you look at that part, it looks so fake. You could tell that people are not interested in being the background dancers that they had in the club and stuff like that, because they were dancing off beat and all this stuff. You couldn't really tell that before that. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, go back to some of your old movies that you enjoyed. Watch them in the high def, 4K and so on and so forth, and you'll be like, hey, this is so fake. You can tell that it's fake now. So because it's so crystal clear. Even today, as humans, bro, we don't have that clarity in our eyes. A lot of us wear glasses, contacts, and all this other shit. You know what I'm saying? Some people have watery eyes. Some people don't even know they need glasses, and they're walking around thinking that, oh, the world was always blurry. I never noticed. And then when you see it, you're like, damn, this shit looks fake. But yeah. Man, I really enjoyed this conversation, man. I can't believe it's 2 hours, man, already. I like to go past that, but you got to keep the entertainment from your people and stuff like that. So I definitely would love to have another conversation with you.
Bro, anytime, man.
It's awesome. Definitely.
It's gone so quick.
Because we enjoyed each other's company. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. That's how it happens. You know what I'm saying? We
just had a real conversation, which is what I really love with this kind of stuff.
I'm 100% with you on that. I enjoy real conversations. I enjoy people being who they are. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you call me an idiot or stupid. I know you don't mean it intentionally. You're just saying the words that you use personally. So I never take offense to anybody. I just love conversations. I love learning from other people. It's always been a joy and passion of mine. And I got to say, to the people that's watching and the people who's going to watch this later on, please go visit Tommy Cullum's channel. That was in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? His link tree and all this other stuff. He even on Amazon Music.
Yeah.
So you out there, bro. You out there, bro. I really enjoyed it, man.
Brother. Thank you, man.
Your aura, your personality, your vibe is somebody that I would love to hang out with personally. Beer is going to be on both of us, because I'm pretty sure when we meet, I'm going to buy you one, you're going to buy me one.
Absolutely.
We're going to go from there. So
absolutely, bro.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed this. I'm going to end this stream, and please don't go nowhere. I want to talk to you after this. Remember, I support Little Vibe. He's a music artist. He raps about a lot of different things, even historical stuff. I love his music. Enjoy him. If you ever have the chance to get on Spotify, go look up Little Vibe on Spotify and check him out. Awesome, very talented artist. He's from Oklahoma. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream, and you can check out just this little snippet that you hear.
Awesome, man.
Hi, man. Until next time, knowledge is power.
Got a little hype now. Can I let it die down? I remember days in the trench. Time to go hard in, time to go all in, time to get my all to this shit. Panamera maxed out, first class flights out Atlantic to Pacific, yeah, it's lit.